Let's have a look at the last two chapters. Chapter 12, first of all. So there's a flashback of Jagan. Jagan remembers about how he went to see his bride. The bride is in Kuppam and Jagan goes to see her with the elder brother. And we can see the responsibilities of the elder brother, the advice given by the elder brother to Jagan, and also the fact that how the proposal or proposed marriages took place and the youngsters never decided about their lives by themselves. And also we understand the importance of the extended family, things like that. And furthermore, the episode or this chapter also shows us about the customs related to arranged and traditional marriages. So Jagan's marriage versus Mali's marriage is something that come to our minds as readers, because one is a proposed marriage, the other one is like it's done according to the individual ideas. And then even though the first marriage, Jagan's and Ambika's marriage, was a proposed marriage done in the traditional way, they had lots of good things, like even in good times and bad times, they were together. Jagan cared for her, and Ambika tried to be a very good wife to him. And they had lots of problems, like they didn't have a child for 10 years. Still, they got together, they had problems, they fought with each other, problems were there, but still they tried to live. They never got away from each other. But in Malice and Grace, it's like so different. If one feels like I don't want the other one, they just get separated and they just lived together without getting married. So there is a problem with regard to culture, religion, morality, etc. So we also get this question that in such a situation, can Mali criticize Jagan even for anything, because he has got a lot of values that his son doesn't have. Jagan and Ambika got married. They had a big feast. Jagan's father was very specific about inviting all. There was this dowry and the issues regarding that. And anyway, Jagan was later on a little bit confused about the fact that whether he could be a responsible husband or not. Anyway, he finally understood that when elders have arranged everything, he cannot do anything. He just said yes and went ahead with what the father said. And on the nuptial day, there were few problems because of a gold vase and because of giving a torn banana leaf for a visitor. And all the problems were somehow solved. And after the marriage of Jagan and Ambika, they lived happily. They had problems, but they were okay. Ambika was trying her best to be a traditional wife in an extended family. At the beginning, Jagan actually did not understand that he can't only have a close relationship with his wife. He has to balance things with the rest of the extended family. So that he understood with the time. And then the father was worried about Jagan's education, because after the marriage he was so close to her and did not study much. Anyway, the other point was the expectations of everyone. As expected, Ambika did not bear a child even for 10 years, and the mother-in-law always reminded about it, and there were some verbal fights between Ambika and Jagan. Finally, the parents interfered and the couple was taken to a temple and they made a vow and they got a child. And they had a feast, later on celebrations, and it was very importantly mentioned that only after the child was born that both Mali and both Jagan and Ambika established themselves as responsible adults. People respected them. They were accepted in the community because they had a son. So that there also we can see the culture of these people. So with all these flashbacks and things happening at present, we can understand that there is a comparison and a contrasting which can be done between Jagan and Mali regarding marriage, maintaining relationships, fulfilling customs and traditions that so different from each other. And every difference, every point in the novel teaches the students or the readers of this novel about life, about relationships, about understanding, about how modernity changes cultures, people, and societies, right? And also about the importance of the moral values, the base, the kind of origin of a person cannot be forgotten. Let's move on to chapter 13. So in this chapter, we see that Jagan changes and searches for solace. He's so different from the man we saw in chapter 1. Jagan, as all known, is a very good follower of Gandhi, Ahimsa, and he spins cotton, and he does his social service, reads Bhagavad Gita, leads a simple life. He let his parents choose everything in his life. He has a very good traditional foundation. However, people who came after the Gandhian movement or during the post-colonial context, so after colonialism, after the British went, those people had quite an opposite behavior, like Mali's generation. And thus by the end of the novel we find a different Jagan, because now his son's generation is so different. What he expects from the son never happened, and he only became sad and worried and disappointed after doing everything for the son. He did not even get a kind word back, so he understood that he has dedicated everything, his whole life, for his son, but he's even he did not get anything back as he expected. So with this disappointment, he comes to a decision, right? And uh, as examples to prove or to justify his decision, we can also remind the fact that Mali found his spouse without consulting the father, and Mali always made Jagan feel distressed, asking for money, and also always it's the money that mattered, and the image and the outside world and friends and etc. He never gave the due respect for the father. So the old generation always relied on spiritualism throughout their lives, but the younger generation represented by Mali seemed to be going in a kind of a very different way. They have kicked that spiritualism and culture away from their lives in a pitiless manner. And the modern generation is only attracted to superficial and materialistic things. That's what Jagan says, and we cannot say that it is not true, because not like Jagan, Mali brings a wife and then also to leave as well. So very superficial love also. And so because of all these things, Jagan seriously decided what should be done during the last phase of his life. So according to Shastras, or according to Hindu beliefs also, everyone has three earthly attachments: wife, son, well, Darshana, Putreshna, Daneshna, something related to their religion and culture. So finally, Jagan decides to move away from all these materialistic accumulation of wealth, and thus he leave. Anyway, the wife is dead. He leaves his son, and he leaves with wealth also. The cousin will look after the shop, and he also thinks that even though initially or at the beginning he is shocked to hear that Mali is imprisoned because of his mistakes, Jagan anyway finally thinks that my son should get a lesson, maybe in the prison. So can't help. And finally, he goes in search of his solace and happiness. And according to the traditional Indian way of life, the last phase of life is sannyasi. That is, a traditional Hindu, first of all, lives life as a child, then young man, then as a middle-aged man who is established in life, and finally sannyasi, or going for almost to lead a life of a hermit. And so finally all these things come to his mind more flashbacks come to his mind, how they got Mali, how they had problems, still how they were happy to got Mali after all these years. But whether Mali was a good son who made the parents happy as an adult is an issue. So in the last part of the novel, we see that Jagan thinks about his past life for a long time through recollections, and we get to know about Jagan's young days, how he met Ambika, how he had Mali, and he seriously decides to denounce everything and goes for a retreat. So firstly he wanted to keep things with him, but later on he just hands over everything and goes. So a family that should have been together happily is thus separated as a result of lack of mutual understanding. And when he goes, at last he meets the cousin who tells that Mali is in trouble and in prison, come and help. But Jagan, even though shocked, he collects himself and says, and no, I tried to teach him good things, and I tried to give him a lesson, he didn't get it. At least in the prison, let him learn his lesson. So the cousin was given the check so that he can spend money and helped Mali, but Jagan did never change his idea. So Jagan also reminds the fact that I would like to buy an air ticket for Grace if she wants to go back. So thus actually we see that the novel ends in a very calm and a positive manner, conveying a lot of messages to the readers. So by the end of the novel, so many factors connected to the Indian social, economic, and cultural and political context are unraveled. The novel is basically situated in 1960s in post-colonial or independent India. The British have left. Throughout the novel, the generation gap can be seen. With the concept of West versus East, we can also see the contrast between spirituality and materialism. So hope that these ideas help you to remind yourselves about the novel.